I think we'll go into this a little deeper tomorrow. But I've been really immersed lately in the Mary Magdalene book that I was talking to you about. And I was really so touched by it because it really was a mm, transmission and teaching directly from Jesus. And you know, we can identify or personalize Jesus as someone very intimate and close to us. You know, he was one of the great masters of all time. Or we can call it the Christ. And the Christ is the Buddha mind. The Christ is, if you've ever seen, oh gosh, her name, Anandamoya Ma. Have you ever seen images of Anandamoya Ma? She is a Christed being and still is available to be able to contact that essence. So I'm not in any way saying that Jesus is, the one. And that was one of the great, in my world, misunderstandings of the teaching, because he was the teaching and the holder and the transmitter of the divine heart. You know, where Buddha, of course, was of compassion, but it was a little bit more working with the mind. And that was extraordinarily imperfect for this particular time on the planet, because really it was sort of after his teachings and presence on the planet that that the mind became prominent in our culture and most of the European cultures, and mind became the exploration, the planetary exploration. And then when Jesus came forth, that then his offering, if you want to call it that, was of the heart, was love. And here there was a deep devotion to Jesus as a small child. And it was like I kind of knew him. And whether it's true or not, a friend of mine who was quite clairvoyant and not in that foo-foo range, but the real deal. And she found me as a child, which again, this sounds corny, but it felt resonant, that was in the Bible, and that the parents were followers of Jesus, but the child got the understanding and what really was being said. So I don't know if that was true or not, but it felt resonant. And as a child, I just had this tremendously deep devotion for Jesus. And in a certain kind of way, it was a little bit of and I didn't buy any of the interpretation of Christianity, none. It wasn't a struggle, wasn't an issue. It just went, that is not who I know. And so as an adult, I didn't have to rebel and hate God and hate Christianity and all of that like many have done. But there was also kind of a sorrow a little bit. And that was, I would pray and wanted that intimate connection that some people had so deeply. And it just didn't happen. It came in the form of the golden radiance. And that would just visit at certain points. And in my own mind, it was Jesus, it was God. And then the golden radiance was completely enveloped this body and this being, and wasn't afraid or wasn't disturbed or nothing. It was just natural. And then it would fade away and I'd go on to school or whatever it was that I was doing. But the love has always been there, and somewhere along the line, it started to open up to the Christ, the awake livingness, the awakened life. And in other ways, So the Buddha mind and, the Christ, Jesus Christ, and, the cosmic mother, the great being of mother, which to me is also the golden radiance. It all just became one field. And that discernment or separating it out just simply stopped. Though I must say, and it was just this little image, and I was at Jennifer's retreat in Oregon, and she was giving this beautiful guided meditation on the the awakened heart and the cave of the heart. And so, boy, that was, my thing. So I went into that. And I'm sure it's an image, but I felt like it was a gift. And it was the beautiful luminous radiance of Jesus Christ. And it was here. So I thought, well, it did make an appearance, and the sadness about not having that personal connection had been long gone. So, and I had a strong, beautiful talk with Strider's mother, who had a true transformational. I mean, she was this and then she was this. And it was all through Jesus Christ. But what I've come to realize is the heart, and it's not the Valentine heart, it's not the chocolate. I love my partner, I love my poodle, I love, my children. It's none of that. The realization was that the heart has never been divided out. Form and emptiness was never divided in the heart. It always was whole. And though many of us maybe came from difficult childhoods where we didn't feel loved and we didn't feel nourished, that if there was the ability to just simply turn and come into the heart, the realization that love and the heart is the emanation of love. It's also the creatrix. What pours out of the heart actually is, the great luminous being. It's the great um, um, grandmother's net, Indra's net, grandmother's web, Indra's net. And, it's not like an airy-fairy idealism, it's the actuality. And it's the air that we breathe, and it's um, the aliveness and the love that surrounds this body and permeates this body. In Sunday school, God is love. And that was absolutely accurately true. We are made up of love. We're sound. Okay. We're surrounded by love. And when that starts to come in, then the revolution of that, the redemption of that it's the most life-changing way that you can move in the body, in the world, as you are. Not wait until you get to somewhere called heaven, or not wait until you build up all these beautiful, merits or whatever you want to call that. And I'm not putting that down. But there was always this teaching that you kind of had to wait for perfection or a certain kind of insight or a depth of awakening and knowing this love, almost like a deserving. I remember Ajahn talking one time about that we all came into the collective teaching that we were born in sin. And I just immediately rejected that. I went, nah, that's not true. I didn't buy into that, never bought into that. I didn't buy into heaven and hell. I didn't buy into, sin, none of that. But I thought, well, maybe I ought to look. And I did. And sure enough, there was a belief, and it was quite hidden, that somehow this singular person, not even the history of sins, that maybe there was still not full forgiveness, but there was a realization that yes, I was a part of this collective. And yes, there was a belief in that. And so right away, boy, I sit with that one. And it, I felt like disappeared. It was just a matter of making it conscious. So the redemption, the redemptive love is really the the gift that actually, I think in most traditions, maybe the Sufi tradition, um, is it's kind of secondary. I don't know how to say it. You know, it's like, you know, first you do this and you do this and you do this, and you know the mind is perfect and blah blah blah, and you know you don't have any, you know, eruptive emotions, and um, you can never get there because you know it's not possible. And the way of the heart, the recognition of love, is there is nothing that cannot be redeemed and transformed. Nothing, absolutely nothing. There's nothing in our karmic history, nothing in our current history, nothing that keeps us from this. That is our birthright. It's who we are. We're made up of it, we're surrounded by it, we're actually directed by it. And I think one of the, and I hate to use this word, but we need it now. And I'm going to say shortcuts. And one of the shortcuts is bring your attention directly into the heart. The heart doesn't know anything else but itself. It knows itself, it lives itself, it's never been separated, it's never been in a hierarchical way. It is the true north, if you will, of our divine nature. And in our society, it's looked at as a little kind of foo-foo, you know, a little less than these strong, you know, sort of intellectual discourses and teachings. And we need both of that, you know, the two wings of the whole, you know, wisdom and love. So we need the foundation of the structure. It's very, very helpful. And we need then, of course, the reality and living in as love. And the two together are whole. And we are whole. If you have a tendency towards trying to stay into emptiness, and you have found that to be your home, which of course it is, my teacher calls it the Godhead. I and my Father are one. And so the ground and the silence is the fundamental ground. And to know that is to know the Godhead. And then that arises from that is the first movement of love, the first movement of the creatrix, and the first movement of, you know, the cosmic mother, the great body that everything is permeated and held by. Do you hear that? And if there's nothing else that you think about, if there's nothing else that you do during this retreat and when you leave, it's just that deep sense of abidance in that silent, perfected, nourishing, total womb of everything. And then that connection to the heart. And the heart is that is the horizontal. It holds it all. It's the totality. And you can live moment by moment in that and through that. So I encourage that practice today, all day long. And if you go, yeah, I know that. And speaking of the heart, there he is, the one that lives from the heart, in the heart. Thank you, my beloved sweetheart friend. So grateful that you're here. We've tried to get it set up for you. Each time we lose the pieces and forget what we needed, but we did our best. And